Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 9th of June. It's a Tuesday. We got a really good setup for Turnaround Tuesday here. So let me show you what's going on. We have quite a bit of risk-off sentiment. Yesterday, we had that big move in the JPY that moved up the Japanese yen that really moved up the treasuries here. So that is kind of the thing that I guess started it. We come here and you look at the E-mini yesterday, decent move. They actually did in the last little bit of trade. They did move up and take out the volatility target. And then here in the Asian session, risk-off sentiment came and brought us back down. Really below yesterday's RTH open even, right? Which was what? Right here. So you can see them try to get back over at 3206 and then bounce. Okay. Over to the treasuries. Treasuries, big move up. Overnight, another big move up. Two legs of it. So we are now back to where we were. Well, we are touching levels from before Friday now, from before the jobs number. So I think keep an eye on that. Oil also moving around a lot today. You can see it there, taking a bit of a dip. They seem to be having a really hard time with 40. I don't know. Oh yeah, sure. We can look at gold too. Because gold was taking a little bit of a hit, but then look also higher. Okay, so risk-off sentiment coming into the market. If here on the E-mini, I'm going to be watching because we're negative on the day. I'll be looking for that weekly open price now, which is going to be down at 31.92. Let's mark that. If we start taking, those are some key points. So if we come out open, I'd expect that we would tend to be still. Sorry, let me bring it over here. I would expect that we'll still be somewhat range bound like we were yesterday, especially during the open in the beginning of everything, because there is an FOMC meeting tomorrow. So what we might see is an attempt to move up failure and then come down, but then come short of that weekly low or somehow stay above that weekly open down at 92 here. All right. Now that's pretty tight. So that's fairly tight. So if we get below that weekly open, there is a possibility that they just start selling it. And in all honesty, I'm surprised that more people haven't taken profits ahead of the FOMC meeting tomorrow. I think it is a very significant risk event. It is a very significant risk event. I'm hesitant. In fact, so yesterday I did a lot of stuff and I didn't need to set and use the right accounts here. So and all of the trades today are going to go into the experimentation account. They're not serious. I'll switch it if something really significant happens, then maybe I'll start to look at it. Let's see here. So we have some bill auctions today again, and we have a 10-year note auction. So that's really important in the treasury. So we should expect to see some more action probably biased to the upside, and icebergs and all of that from people hedging for that. And we'll be keeping an eye. The dollar is at 96.75 right now. I'm going to be watching these currencies, see if there's any movement over there. Also, Donald Trump is tweeting up a storm, so. Barr contradicts Trump, says Secret Service called for him to be moved to the bunker. Of course he lied. Oh, you know what? We never turned on the Texas speech. You guys are all saying stuff to me, and I'm like, oh, it's so quiet and lonely today. No, it's not. You guys are awesome. Good morning, Leandro Matthias. And good morning, Sunday Driver. Man, you've been here every day now. You're like one of our new most active regulars. I appreciate it, dude. When does the rubber band snap back and everything start making sense again? I don't know if it ever will Sunday. You know what? It was probably 2 years ago when I was asking myself a similar question, and then it was kind of like the market just like moved on from whatever it was that I was concerned about, and then I realized that I'm primarily focused on what are the money flows today, right? That's why so there's kind of like three flows that I'm looking at right now that matter in my opinion. One is that there are CTAs. CTAs are commodity trading advisors, and these guys tend to be a little bit more technical and momentum driven. So when you get momentum from a certain stock, or sorry, from a certain asset, they tend to go and just try and ride it. So these guys have been long the treasuries for a very, very long time. And now it is coming back to the point where they are all going, oh, okay, maybe we should go short. So they are kind of selling into the treasuries and buying into the equities right now. That is a significant flow. And it's a good flow to look at because it's predictable, right? But then the next flow that I'm seeing is that the Japanese yen has moved up quite significantly yesterday and tonight, overnight. And then the treasuries are moving on up with it. So I see some risk off sentiment coming into the market. And then there's a little bit of flow here in the treasuries for the curve, because they're expecting this yield curve control. So even though I don't know if I come over here and I show you, oh, actually you can see it. So here, overnight, a little bit of flattening. A little bit of flattening over here as well. But overall, it's been steepening lately. So that's another flow. That means that we're going to see more selling in the 5-year and more buying in the 30-year. And those are the things I look at just like on a daily basis, because when I try and figure out like and the Federal Reserve is buying, but they've been buying less. Okay. But when I sit down and I try and say, okay, Federal Reserve bought a whole lot, and when they let go, it's going to come back down. And like, that's a month from now, like that's a flow that might not be pertinent to today. So that's why I'm focused primarily on that and the whole like, where are we going to be at the end of the year? I don't believe that I have anything that really gives me a good probability of predicting that. So let's see here. Oh, is there West Virginia? There's a special election in West Virginia today. Trump tweeting about. If it was Virginia, then that would maybe be interesting to look at, but apparently not. House Republican said, we have a historic opportunity to get something real, meaningful, and bipartisan. It's probably Mitt Romney. Probably Mitt Romney, but you know what? They should. I was encouraged by the fact that the bill that the Democrats presented yesterday wasn't complete horseshit. There's a couple of things in there that are non-starters. I think that ending qualified immunity for police officers is probably a non-starter. I really, not that I'm an expert on this matter, but it just seems to me that you would have a hard time getting police officers to sign up if they're basically at risk of being sued for every action that they ever do during their duties on the day. So, yeah, that one probably not going to come through. But there was some ideas in there that seemed reasonable to me. So maybe they actually pass something. But like then there's the thing is like if they pass something before the election, then does like, you know, what does that do? How does that affect it? Let's see here. Audio recap Forex Live. Disconnect between currencies and stocks. There has been a clear shakeup in the currency market on Tuesday with a round of profit taking kicking in after some extended runs, and the excuse to book profit is definitely there with the Fed decision tomorrow, yes. So like we we're saying, some risk off, that people are taking profits. I think here in the treasuries, we would want to be buying. But there's an iceberg right there, 20. And I don't like buying into icebergs. I mean, sometimes you can take it and like it'll run through, but there's plenty of reason for people to buy into them.
Sunday driver says removing qualified immunity would wipe out the police. As long as they follow department rules, they can't be sued.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
Well, now you're starting to see mass resignations and stuff. Oh, look, they didn't get through the iceberg and they ticked down, right?
RJ Wheel says
Exactly
good morning.
what I was worried about. And the short-term trend is clearly down. But we could try buying 19.5. Let's see here. Oh, we have Redbook too today. Wholesale inventories, Jolts jobs openings. These aren't significant pieces of information, but the market maybe. I mean, the E-mini definitely looks constrained, doesn't it? Donald Trump tweeting that the NASDAQ hits all-time high! Exclamation point, exclamation. Oh, just one exclamation point. By the way, good morning, RJ. See, just trying to pump the markets again. I think it's funny. You would think by now he would learn that you can't really control them, but whatever. President Secretary McCanny. Is that how you say her name, McCanny? The market believes in this president. Yeah, well, I don't think it's that they believe in this president. It's that they don't want higher taxes. I'm starting to realize that not that. I guess there's the regulations too.
RJ Wheel says CNN would say lots of exclamation points. Shame on you.
I tell you what, the headlines that I see come out of CNN and the mainstream media these days, some of them are very funny. Just because when I look at them from kind of the same lens that I do as a trader, trading. That they just they're worthless headlines. So like the one that I saw yesterday was um Marine that was in Osama bin Laden raid says the country should move on without Donald Trump. Like I missed my opportunity to go long there. I should have just bought it. When it came back from that iceberg, I
Sunday
thought, okay,
Driver says I
maybe.
don't consider the Nasdaq hitting an all-time high to be a good thing. Technically speaking, doesn't a market have to hit a high before a major leg down?
Yeah. Anyways, they were like, and I'm like, who cares what this guy
RJ Wheel
thinks?
says Cuomo was awful last night. I gotta put him on blocked.
The important celebrity, even if it's a political celebrity, doesn't like Donald Trump is like, so who gives a shit?
Treasury_trader says me too. I hit 1 second too late.
I was I one could argue that I was not paying attention there, but when it came down, I wasn't ready to hit into it, so I would have missed it anyways. I'm kind of interested now to see how much backwash there is after that move. Head Rawlings is oh, you know what? I should follow Ed. Ed is an important guy. Follow. I don't agree with everything, but he is definitely an influential. Uh, whatever he's pushing, there's a group of people that are pushing that. Joe Biden now claims he opposes defunding the police. Here's a list of issues he's flip-flopped on. If you don't think Biden won't flip-flop on defunding the police, I suggest you think again. He's probably right. I'm telling you, what's going to happen is they're going to rebrand it. Right now, they're arguing. So I saw an article yesterday that was, why are we arguing over the semantics of this about what defund the police is? So the reason that we've had to defund the police, that we've had to take it this far, is because saying to reform the police wasn't working. Okay, but you've picked like the worst possible optics you could. Like Donald Trump tweeting here, Buffalo protester.
Sunday Driver says
Oh,
they are
yes.
already rebranding. I'm seeing them on Twitter calling it reform the police.
Buffalo protester shoved by police could be an Antifa provocateur. 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment. At One American News Network, I watched. He fell harder than was pushed. Was aiming a scanner. Could be a setup. That's 100%. It 100% is that guy. That guy is an Antifa activist, and he was 100% trying to scan their equipment. And you can see he scans two of them in that video. I saw that stuff. He's and not only you can look at his Twitter history. That was 100% a setup. Those police officers that are mad about them putting him on leave, I think that they're absolutely right. It was a setup. Everything over there is designed to try and make the police look bad.
Sunday Driver says they are already rebranding. I'm seeing them on Twitter calling it reform the police.
Well, they're going to come up with a better brand than that. I don't know what it's going to be, but they're not going to use the word reform or defund. It'll be a different word, and you'll know it when they've settled on it. They'll take what they're doing right now. I guarantee you is they got all of their focus groups, and they're showing words to this focus group and seeing how they react, and they pick the one that the focus group likes the best. 100% guarantee it. You'll know when they've picked it. Okay. So that's what this price is being a little sketch. Yeah. think I'm too early. Christopher Smart. Some will say markets can't possibly go higher, but we have never seen central banks respond so much and so fast. The real problem will come when investors start to ask when these bankers will slow down and pull back. Yeah, 100%. We're going to have a taper tantrum of epic proportions. Mm-mm. Many Republicans feel the same sense of urgency as Dems to act on police reforms, that there's still a lot of reluctance to just sign on to what the Dems put out,
Treasury
which is why
underscore
the
trader
House
says
GOP,
explain please.
which is why the House GOP is aiming to release their own proposal this week. They see the Dem proposal as partisan, one-party product, and believe that a negotiated product will eventually surface. Probably, I think they're going to pass something. 100% think they're going to pass something. So what was I saying? Explain, please. I'm so ADHD, dude. Like I can't even remember what I was saying 5 seconds ago. I didn't like the downtick there. They pulled and I failed, even though they're pulling just to trap people. But I didn't like the spot.
Treasury underscore trader says something with bankers and taper tantrum.
Oh, okay. So in the QE era, when they stopped QE and they started to unwind it, and this was before Donald Trump was elected. So the year of the election, there was quite a bit of market. You know, we call it the taper tantrum, TAPER, because they were tapering Treasury purchases. So when they started tapering the Treasury purchases, the market kind of got a little upset. It's just the same sort of a thing where it's like, it seems to me that just the psychological impact of people saying the Federal Reserve is doing X and Y, just the psychological impact seems to have more of an effect on the markets than the actual impact of them actually buying. See, they pulled to wash me out, and then they went up. I was afraid that could happen, but I just the area wasn't behaving the way that I wanted it to. So I'm okay with doing that and then getting back in. Texas reports record number of coronavirus hospitalizations weeks after reopening. So yeah, so for instance, tomorrow, if the Federal Reserve comes out and says, "Hey, the market's doing just fine and we don't actually need as much monetary support as we thought we would," market will flip. Look at what they're doing to me. Yeah. That one is designed to force you to buy into 22.5. Right? They immediately took it and pretty good bid. Immediately. That's one guy pushed it up.
Treasury underscore trader says okay.
Iceberg at 22. Okay, E-minis attempting a pullback. I don't know if they're going to get it. Ooh, if they were to open below the weekly open, that could be a really favorable setup for some chaos today. I think the buy the dip still comes in at some point, but Minneapolis manufacturer, the city doesn't care about protecting us, so we out of here. Yeah, everybody's leaving, dude. That city's done. Clearly, there is some symptomatic spread. The magnitude of it is going to take some time to determine that. And it's going to take a lot better data than the World Health Organization is basing this conclusion on, quite frankly. Oh, I so agree with them. I have not been impressed with them. And, like, this whole thing is like data science. And, like, when I look out in the media, I'm not seeing people talk data science, you know? There's very clearly a lag between when you reopened and when the number of cases rise, and we're starting to see it right here. That doesn't mean that they have to shut the economy back down, but people aren't going to consume, man. People, I'm not going. I'm avoiding going out. I don't want to get it. I was pretty cavalier about it when I thought, oh, I think I got it in January. But now I'm thinking, well, I didn't catch it in January, and what I did catch in January was pretty nasty. And whatever this is, I don't want to catch it. And I don't have to go out, so I will not suffer to the gym. I will go to my gym because we got Max out on Saturday. See, I think there's a way more there at 22. I have a good spot at 21.5, but look, they're suggesting that they're never going to give me that one.
Sunday Driver says any suggestions for good red states to move to?
Don't move to Utah. It's terrible here. Absolutely, just terrible. Don't move to Utah. I mean, a lot of people are moving to Texas. Go move to Texas. Like they fall 22 half and tick up with a zero resistance.
Uzi Knesset says UES move to red states, still vote blue, then ruin them LMAO.
Yeah, you know what they do change it, but the thing is that I'm realizing is that the people that are moving to red states from blue states, they don't see it that way. Like they don't see it as Democrats ruined my state and that's why I had to move. Most people in California are just they
Sunday
wanted
Driver
a new
says
job,
I'm red
you
in
know?
a purple state, but blue city. I agree. Dumb blues move to red and then screw it up with voting patterns.
The guys in my area from California, they wanted to move to a new job and it happened to be in Utah, and so they moved, and they don't think that it has anything to do with California. But the people that are going to be moving from Minneapolis, their voting behavior is going to be a little bit different for sure. Can you believe that I was almost filled at 21.5? I think I was okay, like finagling it the way that I did, and it was what I planned on doing, and I was okay with it. But I'm realizing that the liquidity is way tighter than I was expecting, and so the opportunities to get in, I
Uzi
probably need to
Knesset
take
says
them.
the bright side is they usually move to Orlando and ruin it. My county is all red and off the radar, thank God lol.
Oh yeah, or Orlando or Miami, right? Sure that a lot of them are moving to Raleigh. I'm told that Raleigh has become extremely liberal in South Carolina. And then over here, there's like Las Vegas and
Uzi Knesset
Phoenix.
says Orlando is a beautiful beacon of Democrat policy. Really noticeable at night. Streets littered with sleeping people in some areas.
Well, we're getting a lot of people moving over in Utah. Okay, well, so because I'm going to experiment and I feel pretty good about the overall flow. If they come back to 21.5, I'm going to take it and try and campaign it.
Winston's
There
mom
she
says
is.
good morning. My keyboard is still wonky, so I am just listening. Please hit like for Speculator Seth and his channel.
Oh,
Thanks.
it's still wonky.
Uzi Knesset says around me, when the traveling beggar junkies hit an intersection, they're gone in a few days, lol.
We need to get you a mechanical keyboard, Winston. There are many good mechanical keyboards on Amazon for as low as $30. Just go and get a new one. Get a nice clacky, get one with blue switches so that everybody in the house has to hear it. That's the greatest. Negative thinking linked to dementia in later life. Study finds. Oh crap, guys!
Sunday
I am
Driver
so
says
screwed.
what is a mechanical keyboard?
I am so screwed, guys. Negative thinking linked to dementia and later in life. So a mechanical keyboard is basically a normal keyboard. I shouldn't say a normal keyboard. The typical like cheapo keyboard that comes with your computer has a membrane on it. There's a membrane on it, and then when the membrane touches the circuit board, that's what activates it, and that's what says that you pushed the button. So it's kind of squishy membrane. A mechanical keyboard, there's actually an electrical switch inside of the key switch, and so you get a more responsive and sharp response to your key presses. So typically, and also they can add a little click to it, like a tactile feeling when it activates, so that you know that it activated, and that can help you type faster and better. And they're just more reliable and better keyboards. But there's lots when you get into it. There's like a bunch of different types of switch. You can spend $1,000 on a keyboard. There's these guys. They make another kind that's it's a lot quieter than a mechanical switch, but it's still a mechanical switch, and it gives okay feedback. And there are thousands of dollars to get a keyboard like this. It gets ridiculous. It gets really ridiculous. Or you make your own. You get into making your own, and you can spend thousands of dollars on making your own. And then there's also the keycaps, right? You get higher quality plastic that feels better. It doesn't wear down as much.
Uzi Knesset says I saw that article. I too am screwed.
I can't help it, guys. I just lots of stuff bothers me. I'm getting frustrated by
Winston's mom says I am setting up my trading streaming room, so I was avoiding fixing this
cool.
Chromebook, but that's a very good
Streaming
idea, a mechanical keyboard.
Well, if you're gonna stream,
Treasury
get red
underscore
switches.
trader says I have a secretary.
Get red switches. Get silent red. Those are the quietest mechanical switches. She's gonna. This will be interesting. I want to see now. And a Chromebook. Oh yeah, Chromebook isn't very. I get you. So it's the keyboard on the Chromebook that's toast. Yeah, that is a problem.
Drawing Davis says what make you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm absolutely.
Winston's mom says red switch.
Yeah, it's a red switch. I'm gonna have to go
Treasury_trader says ZB pushing a bit.
pushing a bit, dude. ZB taking off like a rocket. But what did I say? They're gonna sell
Drawing
the 5
Davis
and 5
says
at
okay
30.
tie.
So if we're moving up, which one do you want to be in? 30. I'm gonna stick to the 10 though. Kind of maybe getting a little bit of stuck in the middle because of them, but because it seems like the spread is between the 30 and the 2 actually, but I digress. Yeah, so there's different types of okay, so there's blue switches. Blue switches are really
Treasury_trader says I only trade the ZN.
right. So if I come over here and I
Drawing Davis
tap
says
on
what
my
trading
blue
you.
switch, can you hear that? Could you hear that? It was probably really soft, but it was still enough to activate the microphone with a dynamic microphone. Okay, it's really loud. Now on my switches over here, it's much quieter. There's no clackiness. Most of what you guys are hearing is this because the microphone's connected to the desk.
Drawing Davis says IMSRY buy.
Oh, I have a trade in the 10-year. So, but we're not. It's a simulated trade. We're not putting on any risk today because today is like we're seeing a risk-off sentiment going into the Federal Reserve meeting. There's not a whole lot of like serious drivers today, so I'm not risking. Probably won't risk capital until the fall because the summer trading is just usually not as good. It's working out okay so far, though. Wondering how long I can hold this. Along with this move, the Japanese yen is moving. So when the yen comes up to an inflection point, I should definitely watch it. I'm going to have to, you know what I'm hating here is I'm going to have to look at some technical analysis indicators that are more effective on currencies because currency flows seem to be affecting our treasuries a lot lately. It pains me, but because I hate forex. Like the forex industry and all of the people that post about forex, I'm not a fan.
Winston's mom says my son and I will be playing day trader soon. Remind me again please, which broker did you recommend for my trading page? Sunday Driver says isn't currency the number one driver for treasuries?
I don't know if it's the number one driver, but it's definitely
Treasury_trader
influential.
says gold is pushing hard 1726 at the moment.
It's definitely influential. I'd say it goes on and off. And I don't think it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't put it as a driver. What happens is people will move money over into dollars, and then because they want to do something, like maybe they want to buy stocks, and then if they want to buy stocks and they're worried about interest rate increases, then they come over and they sell the treasury, for instance. And so that's where you can get that sort of stuff. But then there's also the Japanese yen, which tends to be like a safe haven place. Like all of the guys over in Asia, when they want their money to be safe, they go over and put it in the Japanese yen. So you get this thing where all of the risk assets are moving up. The Japanese yen moves and the treasury moves. So anyways, it's depending on what's happening, you'll see different flow is the gist of it. So brokers. So it depends on what you want to use, right? So if you want to use NinjaTrader, then your best option is to just go to the NinjaTrader brokerage because they've made it really difficult for you to use it outside of the NinjaTrader brokerage. You can, of course. I mean, they have a multi-broker license and everything, but like you can't use CQG and Rhythmic. So like I think you straight up can't use Rhythmic and CQG. It's like limited. And anyways, it's complicated. There are certain situations where you can do it, but it's hard. Okay. And then there is so that's the thing. If you want to use NinjaTrader, you're a new trader, probably you have to use NinjaTrader brokerage. But then if you don't, if you're willing to use, if you're using Sierra charts or I'm using Jigsaw, but I'm also using NinjaTrader. But hopefully Jigsaw will have charts soon, and then you can just use Jigsaw. Or TradingView. TradingView is the cheapest
Winston's
one.
mom says Trading Futures Livestream, the 8th of June 2023 watching now, started streaming 38 minutes ago 20 share save and today is the 9th, my grandfather's birthday.
Yes. Oh, did I not set the date? I didn't. It's the 9th. Anyways, so I'm really liking these new guys, Edge Clear. I've spoken with them, and I'm quite impressed with what they've got over there so far. So Edge Clear is a good one if you want like Sierra charts, so forth.
Winston's mom says NinjaTrader or Jigsaw, got it.
Yeah, that's the software. But I have that video, what's the best futures trading software platform, where I explain why I use what I use. Okay. Then the other option that might be good for you is Optimus Futures. So the nice thing about Optimus Futures is they really prioritize service, and so they will really help you. Like if you call them and you ask them questions, they are going to make sure that you understand what you're doing and that you make the right choice for you and all of that. That's what's good about them. Is it like at AMP? I'm using AMP right now. Don't call them. Like you only call them if you have to, and it's a pain in the ass every time that you have to. Okay. But Optimus Futures, the guys are great. And they have a platform called Optimus Flow, which is not as mature as the other platforms, but has the things that you need, especially if you're going to trade on a higher time frame. It's not as good for scalping, but if you want to trade on a higher time frame, Optimus Futures is great. Now you do pay higher commissions for that extra service, but like I said, like if you're trading a higher time frame, they're great. So those are the main ones that I would recommend. Then I start getting, because the thing is there's nice things about almost every broker, right? AMP is the cheapest. And then there's Trading Technologies. Trading Technologies is the most expensive, and you have to pay pretty hefty fees, monthly fees to trade with them. But they have the best platform.
Winston's mom says OK Sign Optimus has a personality typing model, lol.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He also has a channel. Optimus Futures has a channel, and their owner makes the videos, and I've worked with him a little bit, and I really like him. And I've given him shout outs in videos before. He's been really helpful. So I think it's unfortunate because the thing that traders really care about is the commissions. Like most of these guys, it's like, I got my platform. All I care about is that I can use my platform on your thing, and the commissions are cheap, right? So the product that they're offering is not as in demand, but they do such a good job at it. And I have to say, like he's shown me stuff. There are definitely some serious advantages to trading higher time frames, and if you're willing to, if you have a little bit larger of an account and you're willing to hold overnight, then it can work out really, really well. So you can get some of those flows, like this move that 3-day move in treasuries would have been thousands of dollars on even just one contract. And you wouldn't have to take a whole lot of risk either. And you can just kind of let it ride. Okay. Well, I'm liking the way that 24.5 is acting, but there's that big order at 25. They're going to have to get over. But you know what? They've been doing that a lot recently where they move up or down. I mean, they were doing it on the downside yesterday too, right? It's just like that was where the last turn was, and so there's people left over there from the last turn, and that's why there's so many there. But when they get up there, a lot of them pull, or at least that's what was happening yesterday. Was a lot of them were pulling. There are some other thoughts in here that I missed. Where were we? I'm all over the place all the time, aren't I, guys? If there was something that I was talking about that you wanted to hear more about, don't be afraid to just like ask again. Because we're pretty tight. We have less than 50 people usually, so we can totally do that. Poll: Trump better than Biden on economic growth, 55% to 34%. That's all. Who are the 34%? Tweets Donald Trump. This is par for the course we are on. Trump will talk up economic progress, getting people back to work in stock markets for the next 150 odd days you have been warned.
Winston's mom says thanks, I'm a bit excited about trading now that my son is on board.
Oh, well, good. Well, stick to your simulated trading first, right?
Luis Alarid says no more masks. The WHO is now announcing that asymptomatic transfer of COVID-19 is rare.
Yeah. Which is, I didn't even think of it that way. You don't need to wear a mask unless you're coughing. But you might not realize, the issue I have with that, though, is you might not realize that you are symptomatic. Clearly, there are people that have gone around and spread it and not realized what they were doing. And it only takes one guy. That's the crazy thing, is it only takes one person. They're going to hit it. Well, there's going to be some iceberging at 24.5, it looks like.
Winston's mom says my masks I ordered
Really?
finally arrived yesterday.
I'm surprised my wife has sold like over $1,000 in masks, and she's still getting orders from people, which is like a real shocker to me. Powell explaining why so many bankrupt stocks are rallying. Ooh, I want to watch that later. On stream's probably not the best time. Well, actually, I could do it. Let's see here. It's only 30 seconds. I'm just going to mute this and I'm going to watch it, okay? And I don't think he's actually saying anything important. Nah, they didn't say. I don't. So, like, why are so many bankrupt stocks rallying? That whole thing is so weird to me. And I only assume that it's just manipulation. Like, one of these, like, Hertz is going to collapse. Has it already? Let's go look at his chart. Hertz is the biggest one, right? And then there was a new one that popped up yesterday. HZ. Oh, it's not. That's not what the. That's not. HTZ. There we go. So we'll see if it comes down. But right, I think that what's going to happen is Hertz is going to collapse when the gig is up, and then people will stop doing that because too many traders will get burned from it. Okay, so they did come back all the way. Oh, it's unfortunate I couldn't have gotten that because photos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure. The Hill just in. Trump claims 75-year-old man shoved by Buffalo police could be part of a setup. I'm surprised that they didn't use the words without evidence. I really hope. So let's go look. I really hope that Huffington Post or Washington Post or one of those guys will say without evidence, because there's plenty of evidence, and that's 100% what was happening. Tell her to sell magnets. Well, she does make them with a pouch so that you can put a filter in it. So so there's a viral video. What we're talking about, there's a viral video where a man approaches the police and they push him and he falls to the ground, and the police were suspended over it. This is in Buffalo, New York, and some cops like resigned or protested the putting those cops on leave or whatever, firing them or whatever the deal was. And this particular person is actually a well-known activist with a Twitter and everything, and he has a device in his hand that they use to scan the police communications, because they can be Bluetooth or... So you can see him in the video scanning the police scanner, and he does it to the one police officer and then he does it to the other police officer. They're skimming the scanner, and they do that to do things like they can be Bluetooth and enabled and things like that, so they can use it to figure out what the frequencies of the that they're using, and try and scramble the police communications, or just listen in on the police and know what their police movements are. So, yeah, I mean, that would be pretty much 100%. That you see that in the video, I'd say 100% evidence that it was all a setup. That and who he was, in and of itself, is something that this is a guy that brags about, getting arrested and then not having to face charges. So 100%. I hope they get into it. They go and they bring that man on the news, it'll completely validate him. Now, on this other thing, is Donald Trump just going to talk about the economy the whole time? No, probably not. I think that they're going to pass a bill, and he's going to brag about passing the bill that you know helped heal minority rights in America, or whatever they're going to present it as. 23 polling. Judge blocks Virginia governor's move to take down Robert E. Lee statue. Yeah, I ain't gonna touch that one. I'm kind of like, I don't really care about the statue. Something about like taking down a statue kind of makes me feel uneasy. But if the people want it down that bad, I'm just gonna let them deal with it. So whether or not it should be there or not. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. Thank you. Got 74 on mine today. 74 is the downside target if... Oh, no. Well, yeah, it's going to be around 74. We'll see what it actually is when it opens, but it's going to be around 74. So they pulled at 23, but they didn't get any takers. Euro USD doing its ABCs cracks. back above the 100-hour moving average after holding support on the daily. All those currencies are moving up. The dollar is moving down. Which is normally good for equities, but that's not what's actually happening. It looks like what's actually happening is they're selling their equities and then moving it back over. Martin Gugino is a member of Push Buffalo, which focuses on affording housing, and Western New York Peace Center human rights orgy as part of the Catholic worker movement. Okay, but I don't think he's explicitly a part of an Antifa group, but he was trying to scan. He was trying to mess with their scanners. Man arrested and charged for arson following after Minneapolis police precinct burned down. Good job. One of the things that I find really interesting is that when all of that stuff was happening, I think everybody just kind of assumed that the people that did it got off or were going to get off, or there was so much chaos but no, they're going after them. In Utah, that's what happened was all those people that flipped over a cop car got arrested and they're being charged, and it's going to be heavy charges on their record, federal charges on their record. So now that that's happening, maybe protesters would think twice next time around. They are definitely reacting to the E-mini here. So I'm going to have to do something funky here. Or I may have to do something funky here. So because I'm in a position and I don't have a whole lot baked into it before the E-mini open, and there are probably going to be some attempts at buying. At 33 billion, Nikola's market cap is now higher than Ford's at 30 billion. Nikola has zero revenue versus 150 billion for Ford over the last year. Speculation. Oops. Glad I did that. Freaking heater. I thought my wife made it so that it doesn't do that. But I guess the heater turned on. Officials say 60% of Roosevelt carrier crew have coronavirus antibodies. Cool. Okay, so there's the E-mini. They were making a little bit of a jump there and they came back down. Yeah, that interview was pretty crazy, right? I really think that we're in the midst of a mass hysteria. This is a mass hysteria that's kind of been running for a long time, but we've created a mass hysteria, and you can tell because the people that are in it, the things that the people that are in it say are just like so off kilter with reality that like protecting your own home and property as privilege is like such bullshit. Like how could anybody get on television and think that's like an intelligent thing to say? But she probably came off of that news program and thought, yeah, I really gave it to them racists. That's what she's thinking. That's why I'm pretty confident that it's a. Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know if that's what's causing it. I think it has much more to do with um individuals not being able to deal with the social media age. You have people like myself who have been on the internet their whole lives and are really data oriented. And when we sit down and we say, okay, this X thing seems like a problem. How big of a problem it actually is it? Let's go and look at statistics and compare it to other problems. But these older people, um, they don't do that. Or even millennials that just weren't on the internet as kids. They come in and they see, oh, a cop killed a guy, and so they're immediately thinking, the police are corrupt and we need to do something about it. But then you go back and you look at it and you realize that like more people have died from these protests than have died from the police. Well, that might be true. There's been a lot of I've seen a number of cases where people are suggesting that the provocateurs are being encouraged by Chinese agitators. Like there's like the guy would have a shirt that was clear like you would only have if you were from Beijing or something like that. But I'm sitting here thinking, okay, why would such a state provocateur do that? Probably they would do everything to avoid having any trace to China. So I don't necessarily buy that one. USDJPY is still moving. They haven't broken above the overnight highs, but they're moving. Okay. I'm going to take the one and wait for the open. Yeah. Well, the Russians, and it's not even necessarily just the Russian government, but just people in Russia definitely seem to be trying to undermine, create chaos in the United States. I need to check my Nest thermostat is just going crazy, and it's making it so hot in here. I'm so sick of it. No, why are you on Echo? Stop Echo. Hmm. Sure. Man, I could have gotten more on that one. Well, I think we should try playing it on the E-mini. We can probably stick that there just in case, but well, how do I respond to this? I don't I'm sure that those things happen, but I'm not convinced that that is why there are people out in the streets. I don't think that you can blame the whole thing on the Chinese. That just seems dismissive. I know people here in the United States that have been uppity about the police for decades. Okay, that AC turned off, so it's a little better. Maybe I should switch it up and do it in the ZB. I mean, if they're going to go and bust that before the open, then subvert the whole entire world. I don't know. I feel like you guys are getting just a little bit beyond where we're able to confidently speak about facts is the problem. I would prefer to mention it as like here's the thing that we know for sure is true about it related to it. China is expected to buy billions of dollars more in U.S. agricultural products in 2020 compared with the level of 2017. Zhao Lingwen, expert close to the Chinese government, China bought 32 million tons of soybeans in the 2017. And Rand Squawk built a comment. The expert close to the Chinese government also warned that any retreat of the U.S. side from the Phase 1 deal will bring retaliation by China, such as curbing the exports of rare earths, which would only exacerbate the U.S.'s economic woes. It's failing miserably. And the treasuries are certainly chipping around here. The 5-year. I want to reset it, but I don't know if this is a good spot to do it. So there's the E-mini pumping up. I think that um I think that some of these ideologies would take root and expand in the United States, regardless of whether or not the communists were pushing it. But they're still fringe ideas. I mean, like the communists on Reddit, for instance, there's tons of them. But do they really need the Chinese help? There's enough of that organic behavior now to perpetuate it. You know, what's one of the interesting things about communism is that the Karl Marx, when he wrote Das Kapital, one of his big things was there was like a certain set of circumstances that he believed were most prime for communism to take root, right? One of the things that happened in his lifetime was that there was some kind of like rebellions that kind of like just died down and fizzled out. And so they were down because they felt like the revolution was never going to happen in their time. Um, and the conditions that they were looking for was like a highly advanced capitalist society. And I'm gonna cancel this. It's a minute to go. Highly advanced capitalist society, but that was never where capitalism ever took hold. It only took hold. It took hold in Russia and in China, which were rural societies moving into industrialization, and they had monarchies and things like that. So there's this whole thing where it's like the communists still think late stage capitalism, like that's the popular subreddit, right? But the reality is that that's never happened, and as far as we can tell, that a late stage capitalist society is not really prime for communism. Although, oh, you know what? It hasn't been reading out your messages to you guys. You haven't been hearing them. Okay, so here's the E-mini. Initial move is a sell. The delta on that one's not really very clear. Like the deltas are actually fairly equal. It's just the sellers have been a little bit more effective at moving it. Okay. Okay. So there's the E-mini making a bull run now. I'm not seeing really the treasuries really quite pulling back. There's the 25 pulling. Oh, and it goes down. They do have negative volume overall on the E-mini. They probably need to rotate back up and make a real bull run attempt before they couldn't break 92. Hmm. It's a lot of volume there. I guess I shouldn't say that. It's just a little curious tight spot that they've been trading. Nice. Okay. So I'm not necessarily seeing stops, but it's just running through there really easily. Should put a target out there if I need to. I will put it. I might cancel it, depending on how well it gets up there. Yeah, the treasury's coming back really nicely too. First, I thought that maybe we could see an up move and then they would really dash down to the 92. But based on the way that all played out, I don't think that that's really on the table anymore. Because they did the sell first, there was quite a bit of volume on it. I think that the bulls are going to
M.
really
Brown
try and
says,
push
why the
it
choice of the indicators on you screen?
for fun. You're talking about the chart down in the lower right. So, one of the things that you got to remember for me is that I'm kind of anti-technical analysis. My current philosophy, I'm anti-technical analysis. That doesn't mean that I think that it's worthless or that it doesn't work. It's just that I think that its utility is extremely limited. So I am much more interested in pivot points, spots where different groups of traders are going to flip their opinions on things more so than I am anything else. So on that lower right one of the things that I have on there is a 10-minute moving average, and that is a spot that we have learned that the market really reacts to and that things change whether you're above or below it. And so that's why I show that on there. I also have overlaid behind it 5-minute bars. That's what the red and blue in the background is. Those are like 5-minute candlesticks. Because again, I want to know, are we positive or negative on that time frame, and where does that switch? Because a lot of people trade off of a 5-minute chart. And I'm kind of using those things to determine where is a good risk reward location and everything like that. But the decisions are based largely on the fundamentals. So today we had a lot of risk off sentiment in the overnight, and then here when we opened, they immediately tried to sell it, and the sell didn't go very well. So I expect to move up. Now it might be a short-lived move up. Yeah, let's see how far back they come. I could. How much do I want to give it? Because they could just come back and stop me out, but that's okay. Like, it's a risk-free trade now at this point. Given the way the Treasury is reacting, it could do that. And there is still that 92 area, right? Interesting that the open ended up being exactly at 3,200. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Let it push it a little bit more.
Treasury_trader says nowadays you have to just buy anyway, forget about selling the stock market.
Yeah, totally. It's totally a thing. If there's any day that might not work out as well, though, it's going to be today. They are doing pretty strong swings today, so that's one thing. Nope.
Luis Alarid says Bitcoin traders buy and hold, calling themselves traders.
Well, I've met some Bitcoin traders that they trade it, and they've done well, but then they disappear. Eventually, they screw up. It's one of those ones. You get these instruments that will lie to you. It really exists. You'll do really well on an instrument for a while, and then you'll lose it all. Or there's strategies that work like that. It's a really a common trap. I don't think people realize the risks that they're taking on in some instances. What I'm doing right here is really risky. I wouldn't be doing this with my live account. want to say really risky, but it's more risky than I typically want to do. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump tweeting, "Make America Great Again." The reawakening of America. So he's trying to bump the market. I feel transition to greatness. Hmm.
Winston's mom says 32 watching now, started streaming 86 minutes ago. 40 share save and please hit like. M. Brown says how would profit be made in buy and selling in this chart?
The one in the lower right. Yeah, like I said, it's not really the strategy. Oh my gosh, this one is. See, that was bad. Honestly, so I guess I should reiterate. The strategy today is we're just I'm taking like trade sim in the summer, but I also have multiple sim accounts. So I'm trading my throwaway sim account today. So like the plan today is don't risk any capital. That's the plan today. But I'm looking at the spot and I'm seeing the areas that they're playing and everything. And I like to try and play it early. They'll get those initial swings. And the play right now is that we've had risk off sentiment overnight, and it looks like that risk off sentiment here on the open is fizzling out. But it could flip around. That's why it's kind of like it's not really a very good trade setup, is it? So like that 3203 area didn't end up being quite as good as we wanted because I expected it to hold there and break that high, and it didn't. When I took that one in the treasury, where I will move over here so I don't want it to cover anything. It was 24.5. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Jakub Seliga says just waiting on confirmation. S short 3203.75. We'll see in next 13 minute.
No, see, I don't think this is an area where a lot of rates are just going to be bad. So you can see that I made that play that it was going to go to the new high and it didn't work.
Masiak says hi.
So there's back to the open. Do the treasuries. Hmm. Hmm.
Winston's mom says M. Brown, hi, are you new to this channel? Speculator Seth day trading is a day trader in the Amini Treasury bonds.
Watch that 23 half in the 10-year. Hmm. We did get an outside bar last bar. So can you see here these lines? And they just bounced off of it. Because of the volumes, there's not enough of volume trapped up here for it to really turn down yet. Probably could have gotten a more efficient entry there.
Winston's mom says slot machine. Masiak says I had a little break of market.
Well, they're going to try that 3200 again. Maybe this time they bust it. Oh, the Treasury. Oh. Right there.
Masiak says hi at Winston's mom.
So you see what just happened in the Treasury? They stacked 3,000 on all of these price levels as they moved up. So I think that they're setting themselves up to, well, they might just be trying to get above the 26, but yeah, Pete pulled them.
Winston's mom says Masiak hi.
Lots of tricks today. Let's see if the mini tries to push down below the open again or not. So far, like they coming back to it, and then they're not pushing on the other side of it. Comes back up. See that? Okay, that's better. Now they're giving up a little bit. So Treasury going to tick back up though. Okay, it does. Do see the Japanese yen moving up again, and the 60. Seeing everything fall is a little weird. Usually, when the dollar is falling, the equities move up, and that's not what's been happening today. It's a very interesting change. Okay. So you had that big down bar. So if they bust 95, pretty likely that they're just gonna go down to the low and bust it. But at the moment, they're consolidating, and you got that 25 half stack. Oh, somebody's gonna bust it. Look, he's absorbing on 25. He's definitely sitting up to do it. And then because I'm already in, I'm okay. But that's a setup that's like 50-50 in the treasury there. That's a 50-50 setup. See what he does. It's curious to me that he's putting on that much risk. Like that was a decent amount of risk that they put on there. In a location in context that I'm not entirely sure it makes sense to be putting on that much risk. Maybe they just really want to buy it. Well, now that 25 is starting to look a little strong too. Okay. Okay, so they took it fairly easily. Oh, 3,000 still traded though. Oh, 25 half pulled. 25 half pulled. Okay, uptick. Well, I thought I would have expected him to stack a little bit more at 25 half than that, but maybe he doesn't need to. Maybe the market will do it for him. Yeah. Okay, there's a hit right there. Back. 500 is okay. 1,000 is better. Come on, 1,000. And 999. You know what? You're just messing with me, aren't you? You're just messing with me. There you go. 1,001. Hey, thank you, sir. I'm satisfied now. They showed 1,000 at 25 half. 1,001. Oh my gosh. Okay, they're picking up a few more people. Cool. $25.5 is an area of significant interest from before. And I see 30.5. Something like 27.5 and then 138. So I can kind of see the spots. Oh, and it is kind of matching up with what we see in the level 2. Well, over here it looks like they're gonna go for the low, but they're being awfully slow about it. Like I said, they still have to get below 95 here. Come on. Okay. They touch the low and back up. There we go. And a few stops too. Nothing too exciting though. Seeing implied volatility increasing this morning. Is it increasing?
Jakub Seliga says CL equals sold on 38.02.
Okay. I have my oil dom. It's back here. It's hidden. Ooh, I like your trade, dude. I like your trade. Sometimes you guys will tell me, you notice I usually ignore your guys' trade because I don't want it to affect me. That doesn't mean don't share them, but just know that I don't care. But I just still look at them, and I look at that one, and I look at the Vista chart on it and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good pick. 138.02. I mean, it would have been better if you had gotten it up in the 11 area, but still, it's great. Cool. So that's never going to happen. Actually, I'm thinking if I get the other one, we didn't just let one ride. Because we got way more.
Jakub Seliga says
needed.
just quick SKALP, stop loss on B. Expecting target 37.78.
Oh, okay. I don't know. The way that the other markets are moving, it might move more than that. Let's see here. So here's how I do it. I'll just explain to you. Here's my theory of markets, all right? Oh wait, hold on a second. My chart's screwed up over here in oil and I can't see it. Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to close that and I'm just going to copy this one. And I'm going to move it over to oil CL. Maybe I just don't get that data. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, no, I totally get it. Okay, cool. So the first thing is I want to be trading on the fundamentals. So the fundamentals in oil right now is that there's going to be an OPEC meeting soon, right? And there's kind of some people seem to be thinking that there's going to be some pivoting around here. So we're definitely seeing some like selling flow. So I like the context of it. And you got a good setup here where they definitely fell. So you've already kind of had a confirmation on your trade, right? But my number two thing is I say, know where it's going to go. Know where it's going to go. So where's the big attractor in oil right now? 36.76. This seems far away, but it's well within the range for what it's been trading. So could they come down to this naked point of control at 36.76? I think it's pretty good chance. Now, I'm not a specialist in oil, so I can't really say how significant I think that number is going to be. But I would just be keeping an eye on it, right? But that's the way that I like to take it. Know where it's going to go. 36.76. It's probably a scout though. Probably you shouldn't hold it that far. But
Bot says
hey,
good
John,
morning.
there you are. You still relaxing on vacation, or are you back to normal? Well, I tell you what, that the signal that I took that made me like FOMO in there. Normally
Bot says
given,
lol, what's normal?
I don't know, you were like fishing and stuff. Every day, you see, he knows that I get anxious, so every day he's been telling me what he's been up to, and I appreciate it. I like to know what you're up to, dude. I'd never gone fishing though. I don't know. Probably fishing would be good for me, but probably I would hate it. Where are we gonna get our target? The volatility target? Oh, I can kind of see it. So it is around 76. So I think, yeah. Well, I'm gonna let it go another round here. If I
Bot
see
says still doing
significant
that. Was out for
absorption.
3 hours this morning. Only managed to get one worth keeping.
Oh my gosh, I saw this picture of a cat. So I got catfish that this guy caught that was just, oh my
Winston's mom says, how many Freudians does it take to change a light bulb? Light bulb answer, sex.
Of course. You know what? I watched this. It was on Netflix and it was recommending to it, and it was like great thinkers of the modern world or something like that. And you know, so like the first episode was about Marx, and then the second episode was about I don't even remember the name of the guy. Anyways, and then the
Bot
last one
says
was
that's
about
why
Freud.
they call it fishing, not catching.
There you go. Fishing, not catching. Anyways, when I got to the end of it, I was realizing like, hey, these are all German Jews that were kind of in communist thinking of sorts. And not communist thinking, but like the kinds of thinking that the conspiracy theorists are always they're always on about those groups of people. I'm like, and those were that was the end of the series. And I'm like, why would you pick just like, why wouldn't you do an episode on Einstein?
Winston's
For
mom
instance,
says, light bulb, how many ADHD
he's a
kids does
German
it take
too.
to change answer? We should ride bicycles, you guys.
They're all German. Gamma Trader had forgotten that it was FOMC tomorrow. He was trying to figure out what the deal was with all the strikes and everything on the SPY and why volatility was increasing a bit today. And 131.85.90. Okay, well they went to the 92. Oh my gosh, you know what? I'm like not even thinking
Winston's
here,
mom
guys.
says light bulb. How many Germans does it take to screw in a light bulb? 1. They're efficient and not very funny.
Now, I really like that one. That was good shit. Oh my gosh. That's my kind of joke. Oh my gosh. Oh, the treasuries. I don't know. I don't like what just happened in the 6J. Did I really get 8 out of that? Oh, you don't know it didn't, because when I clicked, I went and I got 4 contracts on it, so it wasn't really 8. It was like 4. Still, it was a good trade. It was a good signal, even though the signal kind of like screwed around with us a bit. It was a good signal. They definitely wanted it. Okay, so let's see if they take that 92 now. So if they hold below 92, then we've got potential. I would be really worried about it. Today is the kind of day where they would do something that makes it look like it's just like game on for shorts and then not do it. But because I'm seeing the action in the treasury and the overall like lay of the land, like the potential is definitely there. It's a less likely scenario, but they're looking like they're going to do it. So let's see what if they go for it. So there's 92 right there. Let's see, they're gonna have to take those stops and bounce and hold it and all that stuff. But look, the treasury kicking up again. Is the 6J doing the same? Not quite. The 6J had a kind of one of those reversal bars that I hate, where it's like big bar up and then big bar down that equals it. Oh, those are the worst. Gamma Trader
Sunday Driver
mistakenly
says,
thought
is there a
today
way
was
to
still
change our
Monday.
voice? Or is that managed by Seth?
So if you type pound info, I think it's info.
Speculator Seth Day Trading says, info.
Yep, there it is. So that's how you do it. So you can make yourself the funniest one is probably the Japanese one. Japanese and Korean. Chinese isn't so bad. 28. Okay, gotta look at my chart again. So just because I do think that they could make it up to 138 up there as possible, especially with the way that the
Winston's mom says, I watched an economist on Sunday say the market bets today on 12 months from today.
And I don't agree with him, but it's a popular opinion that the market is pricing out the future. So you notice that they're just having a really hard time staying below 131.92. He's pulling there. He wants more. I wonder if that could be an 8 to 10K hiding there at 28.5. Oh, did I already get out? Oh, I did get out. I put one. I got one in that iceberg, didn't I? Didn't I? Well, you know what, guys? I'm crazy. Yeah. Now I'm out. Now it can go, but it's dawdled there for too long for my tastes. So I think I want to take it just because I've done well.
Gary Rich says it's true today's action is
Oh.
pricing 6 to 9 months from now.
See, that
It's called
shouldn't
forward
happen.
expectations.
That shouldn't happen. They shouldn't be hit the low of the day and be so slow. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a reversal. When I've seen stuff like that, it usually means that everybody's stops are just a little bit lower. So how many trades in the E-mini did I have to take before I got that all worked out? Ugh. Oh, 3. So I still did okay on it.
Sunday Driver says, info.
Because it has a little asterisk in the front of it, it won't read it out. So if you want to say something and you don't want the reader to read it out.
Sunday Driver says, set accent UKM.
There you go.
Sunday Driver says test.
There you go. Pretty cool. I wrote it myself. Thank you.
インスタンズモム SAYS パン作ったつくことある。パン作ったくことある。Have you ever made bread? Have you ever eaten under pants?
Where do you think it this crap up with, Stan? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh man. See, they've gone below the 92 and touched the low like a couple of times now, in fact. And they didn't. I'm at this point, I think I could just like straight up reverse it. Like if we
Winston's mom
get,
says cool.
I'm gonna take this one
Yakub
right
Seliga
here.
says, how long did it take you to be a trader? It took me 9 years.
Forever.
Treasury_trader says, yeah, Euro stocks are not selling at all.
They already kind of did their sell though. Ooh, the treasury is coming back hard. Okay.
Treasury_trader says there was an iceberg on 285.
Yep, there was. Good observation. And that was the top, wasn't it? That was the second time today that there's been a big iceberg and they couldn't get through it. And I'm wondering if some of this move down was like the iceberg didn't completely get filled in, so he chased it down. You know what I mean? That one's working nicely. 11. It hasn't been long enough necessarily, but I think it's still worth a spot worth taking. Okay, so there's going to be this line right here, 96.25. Oh, well, they already took that. Well, I'm really happy with how I exited my. I mean, I guess I could have not scaled out and taken them all off at the top, but overall, I'm really happy with how I dealt with that, and I'm really happy that the signal did work. I think that was one where that was like kind of a signal that normally would not work out in this context, but we just kind of I think we understood the situation to know that it was worth taking in this particular case, and it worked out. Okay, so there's a move up. Let's come back and look at our footprint chart here and see where the E-mini is kind of. Okay, so they've done a lot at 98. But that was much earlier in the hour, so if they get back up to the open, probably a decent amount of volume that can get busted up through here. The overall delta since the open is positive as well. Well, you know what? Like I can put that there. I would like to see the open. Oh no, you know what? Where should we really be trying to take this? It should be to like 08. 08 or maybe even 22. But 98 is the safe exit. I think I should let this one ride though. Well, I can at least do this. That might be too aggressive, but So I'm not entirely sure if they can break away from that as an area of value. Okay, well, there was some clicking that makes me more optimistic. Yeah, there we go. Well, the open at least.
Bot says NQ pressing new all-time high again today.
That whole thing is just crazy, right? I guess it doesn't bother me that the NQ is at all-time highs, but it's still crazy. You think they can make it to the upside target? So the upside target is 26. And there's a value area, like a very tepid one overnight at 21. So 21 is like as confident as I can. I'm not so sure that they will bust 26, to be honest. Wouldn't be surprised if they move up, they get to 21, and then they fizzle out. Because today is likely to be an inside day. So they've already failed once on the downside. So if they're going to test and go on to the upside, they could fail on the upside too. You smelling? I'm trying to explain. I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but I'm trying to really explain how I'm using the fundamental information about what we know about this market to explain how I'm predicting where it's going to go. It's not just pure technical analysis, right? I'm using technical analysis to identify particular spots, but then I have a pretty good idea of what I think is going to happen at that spot.
Gary Rich says Nasdaq has always lead the way. It's been higher in relative strength compared to the other indices. Russell's is lagging bad.
But Russell's is caught up over the past like 3 days, right, Gary? That's been kind of the what is the story? The story, I guess, is that the Russell has been catching up. So now that they're catching up, everybody thinks that, oh, we've got a broad base, and when you get that sort of a thing, they tend to continue even more. That's been the bull case that I've seen. That's a kind of a case that makes me think like, I don't know if that's really enough to like really a good reason for stocks to continue to move up, you know? But one of the things I wonder about is there is an increase in coronavirus cases. Is the market going to get concerned about it? Well, I don't think that states are going to close things back down. Some states might talk about it, though, and that could affect the markets. But then another thing that could affect the markets is just people staying home and not consuming. So we've taken on all of this debt, and then the recovery kind of gets cut off at the knees because people still don't want to buy. That's kind of the thing I'm worried about. That's the risk that I'm kind of thinking about on the coronavirus. I don't know if it's really that significant probability of a risk, though. It's just a possibility. Well, it sure is trading a lot in this 3200 area. If they get through here, and they would have to go quite a bit more. Like, let's clear the upside here. So there's 3201.25.
Gary Rich says look at the monthly and weekly charts. The currencies are pricing and telling. Treasury are pricing not much GDP till January 21st.
Okay. Well, how are you using the currencies to tell you things. Because I really want to know why the Japanese yen moved the way that it did, and if there was a way to predict that it was going to do that. Certainly, I recognized that it was a thing as soon as it started doing it, but I didn't know that it was going to happen. And it kind of caught me off guard. Defunding the police would be good for robbers and rapists. Donald Trump quoting Senator Bill Cassidy. Given recent gatherings, it seems reasonable time for President Trump to resume holding rallies could be held outside. Give out masks at entrance encourage use, but mass gatherings are now okay. Biden could restart too, of course. Brian York. For those of you guys that don't know who Brian York is, he's kind of the neutral news guy that even though he's trying to be neutral, it's favorable to Trump. So when you see York say things, that's usually a pretty good indication that the Republicans have a good case, because he doesn't just go along. There are some people in the media that will just go along with the president or just go along with the Democrats or whatever it is. But Brian York has been considered on the MAGA side to be neutral.
Sunday Driver says it's going to appear like it's V-shaped at first. I think it's going to be W-shaped. Fear of virus will keep people away. Earnings will be optimistic and then flop.
I don't know. I'm thinking that we will get a V-shaped recovery that gets capped, and then the rest
Gary
of the
Rich says with
recovery
rate cuts
is
and
really
massive
long.
stimulus by CB and fiscal stimulus, they are trying to fill massive gaps in lost GDP.
So it's going to be like a skewed L. It's going to be like a skewed upside down L. It's not going to be. If I can say here, I don't like the way it's making me a little nervous. I should just relax and let it do its thing. Some people think that it's going to be a V. No, I don't think so. I think that let me try a little smaller so that I can kind of show you guys the difference. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be like this. It's just going to go flat for a really, really, really maddeningly long time, which is going to be really frustrating for traders. This is the kind of environment. This is the worst environment for trading, in my opinion. And you have all these day traders out there.
Gary Rich
They're
says
just going to get
reinfection rates are a
sliced and diced.
non-factor. It's a dead cat, V shape, which will turn into a square root pattern with squiggly up and downs. This
is just going to destroy all these Robinhood guys.
インスタンズモム SAYS ザネーム、イェン、トランスレーツ2、ラウンドオブジェクト、オアー、サークル、インイングリッシュビコーズオブザパーフェクトリーラウンドシェイプスオブザコインズ、セイコールザジャパニーズイェン、お金、フィッチジャストミーンズ、マネードット。
When explaining to us why they call the Japanese yen okane. Anyways, so the scenario that you guys are talking about is like it'll be doing this and it'll come down and then it will do
Treasury
this.
_trader says it's going to be the mother of all head and shoulders and will catch a lot of people off guard.
Good. I need to draw my pictures smaller. V-shaped recovery. Seth's alternative, no recovery. Okay. The W higher low. And then the bear case, the true bear case. The recovery, lower low. Okay, so we're in the counter trend time period. I'm just realizing. Aha. Oh, but it started. This move started at 8:15. Maybe I should take it.
Winston's mom says, Accent Japan M. The 5,000 yen banknote features Ogata Korin's painting, the
You
Kakitsubara
copied and
flowers.
pasted it. You copied and
Gary
pasted
Rich
the
says the Eurozone
exclamation
has to get the 4
point.
to approve the massive stimmy. Italy, France are gonna get bought off if Germany allows. Nordea put a great note on this.
Okay, so Europe is going to get more stimulus. But that if that's one of our base cases though, that kind of actually makes it way more complicated for us over here, right? Because the United States has recovered significantly faster compared to other areas. And so you might see capital leave the United States and go over to Europe and have them equalize a little bit. That could actually drag down the US a little bit. The flows for us, what we're doing, might get really, really tricky in that kind of a case. You might get like a really good initial move, but then you might get a lot of confusing stuff where you think the E-mini is going to go up and then it doesn't, and kind of like what it's doing right now. Oh, wow, somebody is buying calls on Bitcoin for August at 20K. You're insane. He's insane. You see this? You're crazy.
Gary Rich says we've seen massive upside in equity markets due to MMF outflows to the tune of 100 bill.
He's going to be really disappointed.
Winston's mom says the Japanese yen rose sharply against the US dollar as investors started to worry about friction between the United States and China. The issue started after it emerged. Winston's mom says that Trump was considering signing the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act, which will sanction several Chinese officials. Action Forex.
Okay.
Winston's mom says they are also concerned about the new Cold War between the two countries. Meanwhile, data from Japan showed that wages declined in April. Winston's mom
He's
says
gonna
average
sign it.
cash earnings declined by 0.6% while the overall wage income of employee declined by 0.6%. Overtime pay, which is a good indicator of companies' activities, declined by 12%.
Oh, that's interesting. That you look at the overtime pay. Yeah, some of those numbers, like the average hourly earnings and stuff, get all screwed up because a lot of people left the market, and it was all the low income earners that left. Senator Ron Paul going on about something. Government can't provide salvation, says Senator Rand Paul. Okay, so you look at the candles, it's getting pretty tight in here. But our super smoother is turning up. What time is it? 8:30? Time flies, guys.
Gary Rich says flow of funds and term premia is the key.
Yeah.
Interest rate differentials matter. Watch all the central banks cut rates. Look at the cross currencies within each country's trading partners. It's a tell.
But a tell of where the money is going. So should I just be reading it as the currency that is increasing is the place where all the money is going to? And that's going to be determined by what the interest rate is of the different countries? Although if the Eurozone just keeps it negative rates, that's just going to push more money to the United States.
Treasury_trader says, what screen recorder are you using? I am posting some of my trades recently on my YouTube channel, but for some reason my uploads have bad quality.
So I use OBS. If you're not using OBS, you should use OBS. That's like the only way to do it these days, I say. But if your output is bad, then maybe you need to increase the bit rate. So like, you should be using like 6,000 kbps or something like that, depending on what resolution you're trying to record it at. Just record it at like downscale it to 1080p. And
Winston's mom says, I think this is the range that we are going to be trading in for a while, so it is worth paying attention to.
Could be.
Winston's mom says FX Empire, the 110 yen level above is major resistance, so that of course will be a target. Just below, the 107 yen and 50 sen level is massive support.
Well, the yen is still kind of trending up, and they just had a relatively large bar up, but the Treasury didn't follow with that one. And the E-mini looks like it wants to move up, but it's not quite there yet. We're still in the counter trend time periods. We'll see here in 5 minutes if they decide to take off or not. Or not. They might not.
Winston's mom says Christopher Lewis 19 minutes ago June 9, 2020 United States dollars per JPY. The US dollar has pulled back initially against the Japanese yen during trading on Tuesday but has found support during early trading hours.
Mm-hmm. You can see it on my chart in the upper left. This is my currency chart. So it goes euro, yen, gold, dollar index. Looks like we're taking off now. They're not above the last pivot yet, which is at 32.150.
Treasury_trader says I am using OBS. Okay, I will check. Thanks.
Yeah, check your bit rate. And you should downscale it to 1080p just because you don't, especially for trading, you don't really get a whole lot of benefit out of, recording a larger resolution. So I would just downscale it to 1080p and then give it 6 kbps. And that'll give you basically the quality that I'm streaming at. Okay, they did pierce the high just teensy bit. Yeah, get out of here. Giddy up. It's not even 8:45, guys. This makes me happy. I've made 2 good calls today, haven't I? Well, I had one good call in the initial one, then my execution was just absolutely terrible, wasn't it? But I would expect me to make a lot of mistakes this week. My nervous system is recovering. Actually, we should go and test it today.
Gary Rich says the analysis has been dislocated due to this pandemic. Each of the G7 has to be analyzed separately.
Okay.
Another fiscal stimulus is coming before the election, $4 trillion and counting.
You really think that the United States is going to do another stimulus, huh? I think for the United States to do another stimulus, in order for it to be politically viable, the market has to sell considerably. Otherwise, it's just not politically feasible. Like, to get those guys to play along with each other, they really have to have a strong incentive. Like, I think they're gonna do it on the police reform bill. I think they're gonna get that. And Donald Trump will sign it. He'll be all over it, and he'll totally take ownership of it. And that's one where the Democrats truly believe it, so they will let him take that victory. But another you said 4 trillion? Oh, 4 trillion and counting is how much we've had so far. I gotcha. But another trillion maybe, or maybe even half a trillion. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen unless unless people are concerned about the market again. So if, for instance, the increase in cases that we're seeing really starts to spook the markets because states start imposing lockdowns again or something like that, then maybe we could get more stimulus.
Sunday Driver says there won't be a stimulus until after the election. If the Dems sweep, it will be MMT to the max and they kill off what's left of the country.
You're really concerned about the Dems killing the country, don't you? I don't know. I think that Joe Biden is serious about being the stable, steady guy, and that if he was put in office, that he would prevent any super serious changes. I think that he would end up being more conservative than anticipated. But he would absolutely implement higher taxes. Boom, some stops. So you see the difference? When we were on the downside, they touched the low, nothing. They pushed it a little bit more, nothing. Now sometimes they'll do that and then they get to the stops and then that one ends up being even better. But when they don't, they test it a couple of times, they back off. Now we go on the upside and we immediately see stops when they touch the high. So what does that tell you about people's pain tolerance? They're willing to set their stops a little bit lower on, at the bottom because they're so confident about the buy. So there's those 7. That was my one spot, right? And then 21 was my higher spot. Well, can I hold it that long though? So we're just going to keep an eye here on the volume. If I start seeing thousands print, then I might get skittish and jump out just because I don't really want to hold it all day. I got stuff to do. I've got stuff to do. Well, looks like there might still be a little bit of pain up there. And look, the Treasury's come completely back. Oh, should check my thing. Have we lost? Yes, we have. Sunday Driver's probably talking more about how the Democrats are going to ruin everything. No, he didn't. He hasn't said anything. Sunday Driver, you let me down. What are some bad things that Joe Biden might do? Would he put somebody that believes in MMT in charge? The VIX is at 30 in October, then drops to 28 in November. Yes, Gary. You've pointed that out before, I think. But here's what I want to know, Gary. The whole well, I messaged you about it even. There was a treasury, there was an interest rate level at which things start to get a little bit crazy. And this level is pointed out by the analyst at Nomura. How did you know about that? Did you? Because I saw it. I saw it on Zero Hedge later. But do you get it directly, or because I'm starting to be like, well, how? I want some of these. I want to read the actual thing and not just the synopsis from Zero Hedge. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that he's going to say like, oh yeah, I get the report and blah blah blah. Not that it would help me at all, but it would still be cool. Yeah, there they're going again. So they're probably going to retrace at least 50% of this thing. Let's do a little bit of math here. Because the 50% should be something that we should be concerned about too. $32.10. Yeah, 31.26. There it is. Cool. Let's see if they continue. Oh, look at that. Oh, they gonna go. All right. That's fine. That's fine. They go to 21. Should I feel bad if they go to 21? It's $50. I did good today, guys. It's not just that I've been doing well lately, but I feel like I'm improving better and better. And now it's starting to turn into like I like today, I feel like I had the whole thing lined out, and as it started to unfold, I knew exactly like what the next two steps were. It makes me excited. Feels good. Feels like probably I'm going to do something stupid and lose a lot of money because I feel too good about it. The market year says equities are forward-looking. Has the surprise been discounted? Citi U.S. Economic Surprise Index has now caught up to this buzz. What are equities discounting next? Good question. That question kind of assumes they were going to keep moving up, which may or may not be true. Well, now that they've kind of pushed through that 50%, you might see something here at 14. We'll just kind of watch to see if there's anybody doing silly nonsense there. Look at the treasuries really came all the way back. Wait, when this started, where was it? Oh, it was at 20. 20 was where we were like, oh, we missed it. That would have been such a great run if we had just been able to catch it there and held it. Because I think if I had caught it early, I would have held it through all that and wouldn't have gotten out at the open and all that stuff. I guess I shouldn't complain because I still made money, but one of the things I'm finding is that despite having a pretty good call about where it's going to go, the treasuries will still fight me super hard on it, and so it's really hard to position myself. I guess it's just been too long. I'm not as used to it. I've always been like, it'll go 2 ticks against me though. Oh, look at him go. Maybe they just go straight to 21. Because that is a really sharp rise there. I probably, given the way that it rose up there to begin with, even though there was some distribution there and I saw 1,000 and all that, I could have waited to see more volume than that, to waited until on the hour there's been 10,000 in that location. Or I could just trail stop it, right? Because if I trail stopped it, then I would be sitting at, 2 points back. I could be sitting there at 10. So I could be comfortably sitting with my stop at where I took the profit anyways. Okay, Gary Rich says, I get research from various places, global, macro, fixed income, etc., and do my own analysis. Don't read much. Zero Hedge Twitter is a great source as well. Yeah, Zero Hedge is just the only place publicly that I've actually seen that goes into the detailed numbers in the degree that I was. So, and a good example is there's a guy at Goldman Sachs that he's kind of like the head of the sales for the hedge funds, essentially. So he has a really good handle on what the players in the market are doing. And he would put out a note every week if you were subscribed to the mailing list. That was really good. And I felt like when I worked at Goldman that, I was trading on a spreadsheet, and I don't know how accurate all that would have been, but I would swing trade it. And I felt like that with his analysis of what the market was doing, that it was very clear to me what the possibilities were and what the market was doing. And he had an article on Zero Hedge yesterday. And it was a great one. I want an article that says okay, this part of the yield curve is steepening and this is what I would recommend doing about it. Or maybe he doesn't give recommendations or even take trades. He just points out where the market is, what the trends are in the market. But, something about the yield curve, like that detailed. And I don't really see anywhere online that you get that. That's free, at least, other than Zero Hedge. Now, I would be willing to pay for that stuff. If I was really getting information like the Nomura guy and stuff like this, I would pay for it 100%. Like $50 to $100, maybe even more than that, maybe even $200 a month. if it was really truly good research. But like I was kind of like just kind of like tepidly fishing around, seeing what's out there, and I really didn't find anything. Really didn't find anything, and I was a little disappointed. So maybe I just save it for the news squawk. Although I've been doing okay without the news squawk too, which is, I think that one week when we had all that news, I wouldn't have done as well without the news squawk. So it would make a difference, but man. Yeah, I did have some losing trades. I took one in the treasury that failed. Like I took on too much. That one sucked. And then these two were great. Yeah, that's really great. And to call it both directions too makes always feel good when I get two in a row in different directions. Well, it's the top of the hour. I guess maybe we still have a couple of other things to talk about. I want to see if Gary responds to that. Gary, if you have any websites and or subscription services that you could recommend, I would be interested. I'm going to go and get a drink here. Okay. Masiak saying that spot on 192 was great. I'm assuming you mean 3192. Yeah. Well, it's really levels is an interesting thing now that I understand. Not now that I understand, but now that I've been taking this more fundamentally based approach, I can kind of go in and I can say what are the fundamentals, and then I can look at all of the levels that I know matter, and I can identify which one is actually going to mean something. 2 in a row in a different direction suggests you have no particular directional bias. Correct. Well, but John, the whole thing is that my theory, 3192 was the week open. Yes. Yeah. So that's what Masiak was. That was exactly what I did. So let me walk you through what I did and why I did what I did. You'll like this, John. So I'm gonna look it out on the mini chart. So today, when we came in, we were up in here, I think. Okay. So the context going in was that even though we had an okay day on Monday with a strong close, always discount the closes, guys, especially when there's a big move up into it. Okay. Closes don't matter as much. And any indicator level that you're using that based off of the close, it might be dubious. Okay. Anyways, significant risk off sentiment. Okay. So I know that 3192 is the open of the week. You can see it right there. The little dotted line. 3192 is the open of the week. I also know that my targets are down below us 3175 and above us 3126. Okay. So first of all, which one of those two are more likely to go, right? So 26 is right in the middle of a distribution from yesterday at the close, okay? So that right there is a price that's pretty likely to be touched. On the downside, okay, first of all, if we break that 92, then that's like the floor falling out, right? Once you start getting the weak negative, it starts to, you start to get a lot of confluence short, okay? But questionable where do you go after that? Because to be short on the month, you've got to get way down there, 30, 40. That's not happening in a day, right? And then where is the 75 on a volume profile? It's beyond the volume profile, right? There's a spot right there at 3178, but it's beyond the profile. Okay? But now think about the context of it. Tomorrow there's an FOMC meeting. Why, if I wanted to go short the market, or the floor was going to fall out of the bottom of the market, why would it happen today when there's an FOMC meeting tomorrow? There's no significant news. Okay, treasuries are moving up, but there's a 10-year auction and all that stuff. Okay, so that's kind of why we're looking to buy the treasuries. There's an auction that tends to move us up. So what did I do? I said, I think that they're going to head fake both ways. I think that they're going to, maybe they'll start at the up and they'll fail and go down and then fail, or maybe they'll go down. So I waited until it was clear which one they were doing. When they went for the down, I took that. And then when it got to 92, I knew that was, a spot. So I took it off and waited to see what it did. And then when they weren't even triggering stops on probes of it. And then number 2 thing is coming over to this chart right here. I'm going to make it big. Right here, 810. Okay, here's an outside bar that was down where they attempted to try and push the low and they failed. So I set to stop myself in as soon as that top of that outside bar was busted. So if it's been, a few 10, 30 minutes and it comes back to that bar, then you've got a good setup long. And then I also knew that this was the counter trend time period. So when it got slow in here, I wasn't too concerned about it. It took off And then I took it off at the 50% retracement. And that's how I took it. That was the trade. So 31.9250 was the weekly open. I knew it was an important spot, but it only ended up being an important spot, I think, because there's an FOMC meeting tomorrow. Otherwise, hey, if this was Thursday and it was the same setup, but it was Thursday, I might try taking that for a continuation because maybe people really are concerned, especially if what happened at the FOMC meeting was like considered negative, which I don't think is going to happen, but I'm just saying the market is likely to be somewhat constrained ahead of that event. The FOMC meeting is likely just going to be more clarity of what is going on currently, not much more. Well, I don't know about that, Gary. I think that there's two things that I think you could see. One is, and the market is already looking for this, is yield curve control. So that definitely matters. I don't know if the rest of the market cares about that, but I care about that. So I really want to know if they say anything about yield curve control because the market has already been trading like they think it's going to happen. And the second one is I want to see if he says anything about how justified monetary stimulus is, given the run-up that we've had. Does he say something that is essentially to the effect of, well, things have done so well, so the Federal Reserve doesn't need to do as much? So you do something that kind of suggests that the thing that's been driving this market is not going to continue to drive it anymore. So even though you're probably right that in the end it's probably unlikely to change a whole lot, it's so significant of an event that your money managers just aren't going to put a whole lot of risk on the table and leave it on through that. Ergo, it's going to head fake instead. It's going to turn around and it's going to make it look like, oh yeah, this looks so bad. That level right there, it's so bad. And they're going to turn, and this is the day, guys. This is the day when it finally falls down. Like that's what it was kind of trying to suggest, but because we knew the context, we knew that it was bluffing. So maybe that's a good way to go about doing it, and maybe it's not, but it worked that well, and it's been working well for us for a while, and I think we'll continue to test it out a little bit and see how well how good we are at it. It's always going to be different, huh? But I guess my point on that one was one that we only made the trade because we had fundamental context, and two, we went in confluence with technical analysis. We used technical analysis to kind of determine the best spots. Gary Rich says, yes, on yield curve control. Yeah, the market seems to be really confident that that's what's going to happen. No on rate cuts. No, I don't think it'll be rate cuts. I don't think he'll talk about a rate cut. I don't think that they're going to be cutting rates until well past their thought plot thing. Right? And we'll talk about how fiscal stimulus is needed. I don't know, man. See, like if Jerome Powell, he will be very careful not to spook with words, very measured words. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though, is he's definitely going to try to be careful, but we know that he's had a hard time with that in the past. No, if Powell came out and was making a strong case for more fiscal stimulus, that would actually make me concerned. I think at this point, with the correct take is, well, the measures that we have taken have been extremely successful, and we're going to continue to do what is necessary to ensure that the recovery is smooth. But right now things are going well. So we have decreased our purchases because we just haven't needed them as much. But if we do need them, then we'll be there. That would be the way that I would take it, right? But if I was Jerome Powell, there would still be this thing. There would still be this little piece of me in the back of my head going, well, we did too much because it's going up too much. It's a risky day. It's going to be an interesting day. I think here's the thing. This is going to be the funny one. I think that the market will move significantly even if he doesn't do anything worthy of attention. So like they'll come out and there'll be their right thing, and there will be the words, and you'll see the market will like move a ton. Sometimes it'll come out and it really just does not move. But I think it'll move no matter what. There will just be crazy volatility just because everybody is so set up for it. And my longer term thinking is this. He's going to do that. Assuming that he doesn't screw up, the market will continue to melt up and up into the end of the week. And then at the end of the week, then we can look at the next phase of the market and see where the flows are going from there and where we might go. Next week might be when we start to see a turn. Like if this week ends up being inside, and then next week could be a turn. One of the mandates by the Fed is to get back to full employment. He will emphasize this in his speech with particular words. Okay. I can see that. You're right. It definitely is like one of the mandates, and he's going to say, well, we need to do what's necessary to get back to full employment, and inflation's not really an issue. He might also say that. We all know negative rates are coming. He has to introduce it softly. It's not that way. Sunday. I think that what's going on. So there's an argument here, and I'm going to take a position in the argument. Okay, the market has been pricing in negative interest rates. So, is the market predicting what he's going to do, or is the market trying to force him into doing something? That's the argument. And my position is the market is trying to force him into doing something. There is almost no support in the United States for negative interest rates. None of the banks want it. All of the people that, all of those banks that own the Federal Reserve are going to say no. But not only that, but the effect that it would have on other countries. If there was nowhere in the world where you could get positively yielding bonds, that would be a real issue. And we would see really bizarre flow off of that. Because we've been seeing a lot of flow coming over to the United States to take advantage of our high yield. And what happens if there's no high yield anywhere? Well, it probably would push people into equities. But I think it would also be deflationary. I think we've kind of reached the limit of one of my economic theories, which I find so incredibly exciting to me. Because what have I always been saying? That if you want growth, that you have to invest, because it's the discovery of new efficiencies and new technologies and worker enhancements and things like that bring out productivity increases and allow us to increase GDP faster. And so if we really want to get to that at high GDP levels again, we need to invest a lot. Okay. There's a problem with that. And that is that people also have to buy the products. People also have to buy the products. If you're putting a bunch of investment in it, everybody is buying stocks, and nobody is buying the products from that company, then you have an issue too. So the reality is that it's not just investment versus consumption, right? Because often I think of consumption as a sink. But the reality is that you need a little bit of both. And my opinion has been that there's been not enough investment. And now it has almost flipped around. We have too much investment. And I'm concerned that what will happen, especially with negative interest rates, is that it will force people to put money into the stock market and not force people into buying things. And so you would continue to see this thing where people are paying higher and higher price earnings multiples for very little future growth. You're going to get peg ratios that are just awful. And so it's not like you can't buy it, but it's just like, are you really going to make that much off of it? Because your expected returns based off of your PE are not. You want to get the really low PE companies are where you're going to get a good deal. And if you're not getting a good deal, that's where you get into this situation where things could really get ugly. And this is like, to me, this is like the bad scenario. And I do think it's going to happen. Assuming that we don't just like recovery and the Federal Reserve, everything's hunky-dory from here. But, if they went to like negative interest rates, for instance, my bad scenario, which is way more mild than the absolute apocalypse that so many people are thinking. But my bad scenario is, what if we have a decade where you don't really get returns from the stock market? What if you get a decade where everybody's putting their money into the S&P 500, into index funds, and for multiple years they get a 0 return on the year, or less than 10% year? Like maybe 1 year it's up 5, and then 1 year it's down 5, and and then at the end of 10 years it's nothing. That would be so problematic. That would be so problematic to the basis of our economy, almost more so than all of this like doom and gloom scenarios that everybody has out, right? Because this is like, now all of a sudden it is like a doom scenario that is generational. You know what I mean? A whole generation where their investments don't turn out because they were forced to pay up for it. Sunday Driver, exactly. They want stocks to continue to escalate. I'm not saying it's right or well thought out, but this is where they're going. Yes. They're forcing people into buying too high. I don't know. I mean, obviously it could come out like the other split side of the scenario is we come out of this, people continue to buy things and consumption actually increases substantially as the virus decreases. Donald Trump wins the election and nothing bad happens, and so everything's all hunky-dory by next year. Consumption increases, and then because we've invested, the companies have had so much money to invest, when the consumption really starts to come in, they will have improved their efficiency so much that stock prices will just be able to just absolutely skyrocket. So that's definitely a scenario too. And it really, this is why it bothers me, though, is I feel like what the Federal Reserve has done is they've basically tried to eliminate risk. And they're so much so that now that they're saying there's no risk to what we're doing, but there is a risk to what they're doing. And if that risk came through, I think it would be really bad for the country. If the 2-year, 5-year, or 10-year went negative, it would be a total disaster. The Fed and Treasury will try the hardest not to allow it. If it did, it put our Federal Reserve I agree. I think that there are traders out there that are either, for whatever reason, they need to buy it, and so they're willing to pay for a negative rate, or if they're speculating, they're trying to force the Federal Reserve to do it because they want it to happen. Because, hey, if it happened, it probably would bring money into the stock market, but it would be a disaster for the country. And there's no way that they're going to go for it. They are like, this is like end of discussion. You know what I mean? Like this is like you're Jerome Powell's little kid. And you're like, Daddy, please, can we have negative interest rates? And he's like, nope, that wouldn't be very good for you, Timmy. Nope. Nope, Daddy, please, no. And don't bring it up again. That's the point that we're at on negative interest rates, right? There's almost no chance that they're going to do it. Mm-mm. Don't be lured by NASDAQ's price strength. They are feeding everything under the surface. NAS has 1% net volume is negative. Nicey is a horror show. He's right. The internals today are not positive. So, 9:24 my time. So it's about time for me to shut it down. What should we call today's video? We call it Headfakes? Calling Headfakes? Calling Headfakes day before FOMC. Because if you're watching this video in the future, that's what you're supposed to get out of this video. The Fed already said its balance sheet is unlimited, 10 trillion and growing. We shall see how this plays out. Yeah. That's one of the things that's fun about the market is there's always going to be that big question. And like people will have all these different opinions about the way that it's going to turn out. And my observation has been that people will get certain portions right, but that there's always something about how it ends up playing out that ends up being unique and we would never guess. The true nature of markets, it's so complex that we really cannot comprehend it. We really cannot comprehend it. And the best we can do is go into a certain situation and play the recording, watch through the recording, I guess, and see what happens to know. That is the fractal nature of markets. You cannot, there's an infinite number of patterns that it can come out of it. And you never really know what it's really actually going to do until you play through the game, which is by trading it in the market. Isn't it? And that is why expected returns on intraday day trading based off of purely technical analysis is, I think, always going to have a net expectancy over a 10-year period of almost null. Because the market is fractal in nature. The only way that I think that you can really make consistent money is by combining that technical analysis with an understanding of where the money is flowing and front running the money in limited cases where you understand enough about what the market is going to do before everybody else does. Like what we did today. That's my opinion. So, I was thinking that maybe they were going to go and try and make a new high, but they just they said not yet. Not yet. Kind of turning. I don't know. I mean, they did kind of bottom out there, so I think that they could go and make another run up. And if they do a measured move, then they'll definitely make it to 32.21. 32.20. Somewhere above 32.20. Somewhere between 20 and 27. Yesterday's close, it was 27. So that's kind of your game plan from here on out. But I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I didn't like that treasury trade. A little unhappy with some of that, but especially in the E-mini was great. So stay profitable, friends, and I will see you tomorrow. I have 2 streams tomorrow. It's FOMC. Stay profitable.